Regular programming will not be seen, so we can bring you this special presentation. It's time for an ABC News 4 special. Tigers Tide Take 4. Sponsored by Cruise Subaru of Charleston. You've got a friend in the car business. And now, Sports4's Scott Eisberg and Daren Stoltzfus.
Good evening and welcome to California's gorgeous Bay Area. Iconic images, historic places from the Golden Gate Bridge to Lombard Street, across the bay to Alcatraz and down the interstate to Silicon Valley, where we join you from tonight in San Jose.
Then tomorrow night, off to Santa Clara for the national championship game. Of course, it's two Southern teams invading Northern California, the nation watching Tigers Tide Take 4 from California.
Good evening. I'm Scott Eisberg alongside Daren Stoltzfus in the fan central area of the San Jose Convention Center. Over our shoulder, fans taking their picture with the national championship trophy. What these two teams are playing for tomorrow night. Alabama, Clemson, 4 straight years, 3 of those 4, that very trophy.
Yeah, the trophy back in that room a little further down. But, Scotty, how we got to this point, pretty incredible. The Clemson Tigers, the winningest program in the country over the past 4 years, except for Alabama. 1 game separates them.
Unbelievable run these two teams have had. Today, one final pint of pomp and circumstance posing around the prized possession, the national championship trophy. The two coaches who will forever be tied, Nick Saban, Dabo Swinney, the Alabama legend and the Alabama grad. These two prepared for another battle on the gridiron tomorrow night.
To be honest with you, when I got the job in 2009, I felt like that at Clemson we could build a program that could compete at the highest level. We were a long way away from that, that's for sure, but I felt like we had a few pieces in place. You can't be afraid to fail. All right, there's going to be some failure, but that's a part of your growth. That's a part of development. That's the only way that I'm going to be able to teach these guys what it takes.
We try to get our players to do is play to a standard, be the best version of themselves. I oftentimes, get on our players even when we win, and people don't totally understand that because regardless of what the scoreboard says, how did you really perform? Did you perform, to your best of your ability? Did you create the best value for yourself and for the team by the way you were able to execute the discipline that you played with?
Well, 2 of the guys that we will have our eyes focused on tomorrow night, 2 guys that have not faced off against the other team. Trevor Lawrence was still in high school a year ago, an early enrollee in January, worked his way into the starting role by game number 5 for the Clemson Tigers. The long-haired, calm, true freshman will be under center to start for Clemson tomorrow night. On the other side, Tua Tagovailoa was a backup in the Sugar Bowl last year, but did come in as the hero in the national title game. He has big game experience. Trevor played in the Cotton Bowl a week ago, but Tua, now the guy, and it's not all good, I would say, at the top in Alabama.
I wish I was back down there. It's a lot easier. I could go around, have fun, mess around. But life's definitely changed. It's one of those things where you kind of pray for it, and once you get it, it's like you can't really ask for it back, So it's like a blessing but a burden at the same time.
I think just the growth all the way around, just me personally, and then obviously just the team as well. We've just grown so much, gone through a lot of things, and it's just really made us better in the end. And being able to go through that stuff and still be standing is pretty remarkable.
So the guy calling the plays for Trevor Lawrence, the co-offensive coordinator of the Clemson Tigers, Tony Elliott. He and Jeff Scott have been simply incredible since taking over that position. Nothing but playoffs. I catch up with Tony, the James Island native, one-on-one. All right, with James Island's Tony Elliott, did it dawn on you when you were coaching at Furman, SC State, all these places that here you'd be again at a national championship?
To be transparent, no. When I made the decision to leave engineering to get into coaching, I had the expectation, just like everybody else, of starting at the ground level and seeing how high I could get. But to be at the pinnacle of college football with Coach Sweeney, my position coach, to be back here in California. I was born, not far from here, and my family on my mom's side is going to have an opportunity to come to the game. I couldn't have dreamed it, or I wouldn't even have been able to write the script as good as the way it's playing out.
What is the relationship like with that family here in California? Have you always maintained a relationship with them? How's it kind of been?
Yeah, it's difficult because you're a long way away, but probably about 3 or 4 years ago, we brought our firstborn out. They haven't met my youngest son, Ace, so that's going to be an opportunity that I might miss it because I'm going to be working with the team, but my wife will capture it, so that's going to be pretty cool. But my sister's out here. She's got 3 boys, so I got some nephews out here. My grandma's still alive. Got several aunts and uncles out here, so it's a good relationship, and I'm happy they're going to have an opportunity to be a part of this event.
Tom Hatley said you were the best center fielder he ever saw. Is that true or is that not true?
Well, I don't know if that's true, but I love playing baseball. I love playing for Coach Hatley, and a lot of the things that he taught me in baseball have helped me, grow as a man and really made an impact on my life and the way that he challenged me as a player. Even though I was a 3-sport athlete and very popular in the school, he treated me just like every other player. He rode me hard, and that helped me develop as a man.
Final question for you: the difference between Alabama last year and Alabama this year, and how do you attack that? I mean, is there a difference in playing with Trevor Lawrence?
There's never a difference in that defense. I mean, they're built the same every single year, and just when you think that you've seen the best player that you've ever seen, they just get another one the next year, and they're really, really good on the defensive line. Quentin Williams is as good as I've seen. He's a complete defensive line. He can two-gap, he can penetrate. I mean, he's strong enough to beat double teams. They're experienced at linebacker and Mac Wilson. I think they got the best safety in the country in Deontay Thompson. So we're just going to have to come out swinging, make sure that we challenge them in the run game, establish the line of scrimmage, and then just like in 16 and in 15, our playmakers got to make plays. And if our playmakers make plays, then we'll have an opportunity to try to get to the fourth quarter and sell out and see what it says when the clock says 0.
That's James Islands, Tony Elliott. Best of luck in the national championship game Monday night.
Thank you, Scotty. Sticking with the offense, we've got to talk more about these quarterbacks. Yeah, they're going to face a huge test tomorrow night. Great defenses on both teams. But how about a former Crimson Tide quarterback to help us break down Tua Tagovailoa and Trevor Lawrence before tomorrow night's title match? We're here with SEC Network's Greg McElroy, former Alabama quarterback. When you look at these two quarterbacks, how much fun is it to break down what Tua and what Trevor can both do on the football field?
Well, it's been amazing, and it's a lot of it. You can't play quarterback by yourself. So a lot of the credit needs to go to the supporting cast for both, because both receiver cores off the charts good. Both guys have very capable run games to lean on, so that's helpful. But what's been amazing to watch is just that they're young and they haven't allowed the moment to be too big for them. That's been really encouraging to watch and exciting to see what they're going to grow into.
I say this lovingly. I feel like you are a football nerd. But as a former player, you see things that fans or media probably don't see. What impresses you the most about each guy when you break them down on film?
Well, I mean, just the natural ability to throw guys open is probably the first thing I look at. As far as Trevor is concerned, like, he anticipates throws, and you don't see that often from freshmen. Like, he has a real instinctive quality to him, and Tua is probably the most instinctive quarterback I've probably studied in quite some time. I mean, he layers the football, he sees defenders, he's absolutely terrific. So both guys are off the charts good, and the beauty is they're just scratching their surface. Like, eventually, they're going to be ridiculous.
Last thing, we've seen these two teams meet 3 times in a row in the postseason. What do you expect in the fourth matchup? How will this compare to the first 3?
Well, the thing is, yeah, the teams are the same, the uniforms are the same, but it's really different matchups. Like, if you look at both quarterbacks, that makes each team different. Like, Tua's never played against Clemson, and Trevor Lawrence never played against Alabama. So, yeah, we've seen this matchup before because the uniforms and the schools and the universities are the same, but we haven't seen this version of each team against each other, and that's going to make it really unique.
I think it's also going to make it a lot of fun. Tigers, Tide, take 4, but it's a completely different cast, at least under center.
Yeah. No question about that. It is very different, but those guys that are playing in this game, it's all business for them. They don't get to really go out and enjoy Northern California.
The Bay Area.
Not a whole lot going on here in Santa Clara, San Jose. Up in San Francisco, plenty going on. We took a ride up there and took a ride down Lombard Street. We are about to cross onto Lombard Street. the most crooked street in America. Darren, what do you think about this? How do you think our rental car is handling this?
I think the Hyundai has it handled, Scotty. And we've got the wonderful driving. That's the
driving is the key. You know what else is a key for Clemson? Breaking a couple streaks. You know what? They've never won in the state of California. They've played here twice. It hasn't been for over 50 years, but they haven't won in the Golden State.
That's pretty impressive. But what also is impressive, whoever wins on Monday night becomes the first FBS team to go 15-0.
No question about it. And wherever you go, whatever turn you take, whatever turn you make, wherever you look, there's one thing that you can see and one thing that you could hear. Roll Tide. We were able to catch up with some ultimate Tide fans at the bottom of Lombard Street.
My father and I have been going to national championships since '92. So we've not missed an Alabama national championship in person since 1992. So this will be our 8th, and right now we're 6-1. So we're getting ready to win another one on Monday. So.
And your favorite Alabama player ever would be Dabo Swinney, correct?
Well, we love Dabo because, you know what, we're going to steal him from Clemson when Coach Saban retires.
Oh, there you go.
He's a homeboy, so it'll be like when Coach Bryant came, Mama calls. When Mama calls, you have to come home.
So who knows if Dabo will answer Mama's call, but it certainly is a fun narrative that adds to this now postseason rivalry.
No question about it. As we end our trip down Lombard Street, we will head to the Full House, and then the Golden Gate Bridge. We're getting it all done today before the Clemson Tigers arrive in town tonight.
So, Scotty, that was a couple days ago, but we had to allow time to get down here. We also had to allow time to go talk about Uncle Jesse's hair versus Trevor Lawrence. You got to wait for that one.
We'll talk about that as well as Citadel football, the one team to hold Alabama to a tie score at the half. That story coming up next.
ABC News 4 special, Tigers Tide Take 4, sponsored by Cruise Subaru of Charleston. You've got a friend in the car business.
Welcome back live to San Jose, California, alongside Daren Stoltzfus. I'm Scott Eisberg. This place, obviously the place to be, already stopped during our show by a family from Mount Pleasant and a gentleman from West Ashley. So plenty of people have made the trip out here, Daren.
You've got a friend in the car business. We've got friends in California.
That's right.
Who doesn't have friends is one of the 2 coaches that has played Clemson and Alabama in the past 2 seasons. Only 2 programs. Jimbo Fisher, not a friend of the program, Scotty.
No, but Citadel's Brent Thompson, he might know a little something that Dabo Swinney wants to know. Granted, they did lose 66-3 to Clemson, but the Citadel, the only team this year to be tied at halftime with Alabama. They call November 17th walkover week. Paycheck games, tune-ups for next week's rivalry showdowns. But forget the Iron Bowl for Alabama. For 30 minutes, Citadel strength, all the Tide could take.
Well, Scott, yeah, that was our goal going into it. Is we really just wanted to make it a game for as long as we possibly could. We understood that we were outmanned, but we also understand that our guys are going to play, and they're going to play to the level of Alabama.
Did Nick Saban know who Brent Thompson was before? Who knows? Maybe just the guy collecting the check.
The pregame handshake is interesting because I'm facing my team, he's facing his team, and we're kind of just watching our pregame routine out there. And usually there's some interaction. You make eye contact, and you kind of get together and start talking. But it was really odd. I didn't know, that's Coach Saban over there. I didn't really know how it was going to go about. So eventually, he caught my eye over there. We got together. We had a great conversation. He asked us about the offense.
And the triple option attack of the Citadel, all that Bama could take.
This is what I call perfect pitch alignment right here. We get this, when we get alignments like this, we're catching the ball going downhill. Dante's able to accelerate, and he's got a clear path to the end zone.
Andy Clausen's cheering very well.
Oh, yeah. He sees it. He's seen enough option football, right? He knows what's going on right there.
Did you think he's winning a foot race with
Not
these
a
guys?
chance. I'm getting ready to call the next play, and I'm thinking, what's the next opportunity to score? But, it's triple option at its finest right there.
Look at your bench. They're going nuts. Yeah. At this point, they're thinking they're beating Alabama.
Oh, yeah. Well, that and they hadn't been scored upon in, how many quarters there.
Right.
So it was our goal just to kind of score and get some points on the board, and then we were like, we're okay.
Right.
And then we put another drive together here, and we were able to go down and tie the game up, which was nice.
So if you were to give advice to Dabo Sweeney, it would be run the triple option and get a kid from Porter Goud, basically?
Absolutely. Get the ball on the perimeter against these guys. But no, they are extremely fast. They'll be able to walk you down. We were able to just gain some angles on these guys.
10-10 at the break. The Bulldogs, the bark of the country. Twitter ablaze, the Tide stunned. The second half, we don't need to talk about that. For the sake of this story and for this game, Dabo Sweeney may just want to run the triple option, cut block a bit, and play with military-like discipline, and always remember the Citadel.
At the end of the game, it was real quick. It was just, good luck the rest of the way. I said, go win the national championship, coach, and good luck to you.
Did you ever get an email or anything like, man, you guys played a heck of a half, or did you ever get anything about that? Or
No. Tell you, if I ever did get the email, I would probably print it out, frame it, and save it forever.
Thank you to Brent Thompson for that, obviously helping play along. It adds to it. We love it, Brent. Anyways, Clemson, one of the phrases we always hear around this program is Clemson family. Obviously, Dabo Sweeney, 2 sons on this team. But what you may not know is Brent Venables also has a son on this team. No, I'm not lying. Take a look. Here he is, number 15. His name is Jake Venables. He does have a solo tackle on the year. Knocked it down at NC State at Death Valley earlier this season. A big moment for him and Dad. But would be even bigger if tomorrow night he and his father able to share another embrace as national champions.
It's not about me and him, but I'm kind of like looking from afar. I'm watching him, with his teammates and listening to him, how it was today and wasn't this cool, and then getting the picture after the game, and it's about him and his journey. But to be able to, so many dads, are not. If you're a football coach, you're not afforded the same opportunity, and I don't take that for granted. I'm very thankful for that. And to get that, again, bird's eye view every day is pretty special.
I just think about, we're doing our own things, but it's been everything I thought it would be.
For you to get to hug him after winning a national championship, have you thought about that in your head?
Definitely, for sure. 2 years ago when we did that, it's pretty special, but I feel like it'll be even more special this year.
If you're talking about Venables, you have to be talking about Clemson's defense. Easily one of the most dominant we have ever seen. That defensive front 4 of Christian Wilkins, Austin Bryant, Cleveland Farrell, and now Albert Huggins easily could all be playing on NFL Sundays for a long, long time, all learning under the tutelage of Venables, all vocal, fun, and fierce, hoping to put some fear into Alabama.
Fair and square, we got beat last year. They were better than us, and that left a bitter taste in our mouth. So all we could do was go back to the drawing board, look ourselves in the mirror, see what our flaws were, see what our strengths were as well, and improve upon our weaknesses, and as well as continue to improve upon our strengths. And that's what we try to do this off season, and do that each and every week this year. Treat every game like a playoff game, because in all reality it is.
Sometimes you just have to let Daren Stoltzfus do an interview so he can go all fangirl. That's exactly what happened when he sees another fanboy.
2019.
That's right, another Tennessee volunteer here in Northern California.
So dreams do come true. I am beside Paul Feinbaum on television. It's just still in Charleston, South Carolina, not the SEC network. Paul, thanks for joining us.
Thank
when you look at this matchup between Alabama and Clemson again, what stands out? I mean, it's the 4th time in a row.
Well, I think that's what stands out, but these aren't the same 2 teams. You have 2 very unique quarterbacks. I'm not going to put Trevor Lawrence in Deshaun Watson's shoes, but I will put him ahead of Kelly Bryant. So I think that trumps what we saw last year. But I think ultimately the quarterbacks are going to be the show. The coaches, there's really not that much difference. They're both very. I realize one's the best of all time, but Dabo Sweeney is right next to him in terms of today's landscape. So I like the game very much. I think Alabama maybe just a little bit better. I think that's where the edge is.
How have these 2 teams put themselves so far ahead, seemingly, of everybody else in college football?
Well, I think it starts with recruiting. They recruit at a very elite level, and I think you have the 2 best coaches in the game. And you also have administrations that support the programs 100%, and you have to have that.
With this game being in the Bay Area, it's a bit different than the other championships in past. What do you expect from the fans? What are the calls going to be like on Tuesday?
Yeah, I think that the atmosphere will be the strangest part of this game. I don't think there'll be much of one. But ultimately, the national championship the day after is who won, who lost. Last year, the Georgia fans made more noise than Alabama. 2 years ago, the Alabama fans made a lot of noise. So I think Alabama is used to winning. Clemson's a little bit different for them.
So, Scotty, if you think we're getting away with just one Tennessee grad on this show other than me, you're absolutely wrong. We've got another one waiting in the wings to come on live.
That's right, Ryan McGee from ESPN, and we'll hear from Holly Rowe, an uplifting interview coming up after the break.
And all that, like somebody's fixing to die or something. Like the world's coming to an end. We'll be back, and so will they. We'll have probably several more opportunities to hook it up with these guys, and we look forward to that.
Dabo Swinney might as well be a fortune teller. That was a year ago after the Sugar Bowl when Alabama ended their season. He said they'd be back. They are. This guy's back, too. No, it's not Scott Eisberg with a full head of hair and a beard. It's Ryan McGee from ESPN and the SEC Network. Ryan, thanks for joining us. Another Tennessee grad on this show.
Right.
You can't beat it.
No, that's our goal. We've done this several years in a row now. We try to cram as many Tennessee alums as we can in the show.
I don't think Bill can get a shot, so I'm just going to. I got the TriStar
socks.
Oh,
yeah, see?
All right, let's get down to brass tacks. We need to talk actually about the game at hand. Clemson and Alabama, it's year fourth postseason meeting in a row. But why do you feel like, or maybe you don't, is this a bigger game for Clemson and Dabo and that program and what they stand for right now than it is for Alabama?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Alabama's legacy just for 150 years is set. Yeah. But Alabama's legacy over the last decade and a half with Nick Saban is set. I mean, no matter what happens from now on, to me, this last 10 years is the greatest run that any program has had in the history of college football. It's hard for a couple Tennessee alums to sit here on television and say this, but if Clemson's going to make a dent in that, and if they're going to get their foothold in, who's the greatest team of what I consider to be the most competitive era in the history of college football, you got to win them. And they won one, and that was great. But you got to win a second one to back it up. And so I think they have an opportunity to do it on Monday night.
And I think there's truth to Dabo saying there is the rest of y'all bust. Maybe Clemson's in the front of it, but it does appear to be there's still a gap between Alabama and Clemson, and then there's a major chasm below.
Well, it's all relative, right? Because there's a gap between Alabama and Clemson, but it's about like that. The gap between the two of them and everyone else, we saw it in the playoffs. Yeah. It is what it is. And so I've got a shameless plug time. I got a column on ESPN.com on Monday about this, which is...
We get people plugging ESPN all the time on our show.
And I appreciate that. but listen, in the end, I tell people all the time, I know these might not be your two teams. I know you might be tired of seeing these two teams, but appreciate what we're watching right now because this is Bird Magic. It's the Yankees and the Dodgers. It's Ali Frazier. You're going to 20 years from now look back and go, man, do you remember when this happened? Because it won't last forever. It hadn't happened before. And so you appreciate what we're seeing right now.
I appreciate you not going MJ LeBron, I feel like.
Yeah, I'm old. So Bird Magic is what I'm going to go with.
When you look at tomorrow, we know the field has had issues in the past. It's rained in Santa Clara for probably 3 days in a row now. I know they replaced the side after the Red Box Bowl, but I think you were over there earlier. What can we expect footing-wise? How could that change the game?
I don't know.
Super Bowl was rough.
It was really rough, and that's why I'm worried because, what we've seen in the past is, like I think about it, South Carolina, Beyonce and Jay-Z completely tore the field up. And, I was giving Dwayne and the guys at the stadium, y'all going to be ready for this? And they were fine. Yeah. But the reason they were fine is because they had gone through a bad situation before. And so we should all hope that with the Super Bowl situation, they figured that out. Because there are places where they just roll the field in and out and don't think about it. And this was not one of those places, and hopefully they figured that out because it would make for a bad night.
We'll get you out of here soon, but I do have a few more questions. Yeah. Just the general feeling of the Bay Area as a championship host for two Southern teams, obviously it doesn't make a lot of sense, but this has been a very different week, especially with San Francisco kind of lumped in with this. It's not Glendale and Phoenix. It's not easy to get from place to place. What's the consensus on your side of how this event has gone, and what does it mean for college football, especially with the tickets? Prices are way down.
Well, first of all, let's all appreciate the fact that this man has worked so hard to get Full House into every show for the last week, and I do appreciate it. I was here with my daughter a couple years ago, and the first thing we did was we went over there and stood in the park and took a picture. I love the Bay Area. Love it. I have vacationed out here. I have family in this area. It's fantastic. But it's a tough ticket. A tough ticket as far as a draw. This is not a college football area. We see it with the Pac-12 championship game. But that's also why we're here. The Pac-12 offices are a 45-minute drive from here. I've seen all the Pac-12 officials. If you're going to be a Power 5 conference, you're going to get a championship game in your backyard. That's why we're going to Indianapolis in a couple of years. That's the Big Ten's backyard. So it doesn't surprise me that we're here. I say we just enjoy it. I always go back to, in the late 80s, my father worked at Furman, and Furman played Georgia Southern for the FCS championship, 1AA. It was in Pocatello, Idaho. So sometimes that's just how the rotation works out. And for folks that made the trip, I think they're going to have a good time.
All right. I was going to ask a Full House question, but now you're making me feel bad about it.
No.
Favorite memory of Danny
totally
Tanner on
impressed.
Wake Up San Francisco?
Yeah,
what stands out?
I always felt
or
like
ABC,
I always
TGIF.
felt like Dave Gurley was an underappreciated comedic talent.
All right.
I said that with a straight face.
All right, I'm going to transition you then. Hot seat. Who is the most underappreciated player on the field tomorrow night that could have an impact?
It's a great question, but to me, and I'm not going to give you a name, but I'll give you a group.
Okay.
The Clemson secondary is going to be the difference in the football game. If the Clemson secondary I saw that made Jake Bentley look like Joe Montana,
you were in the house.
That team is not going to. That will not be good. If the secondary, who did just enough against Notre Dame, let that front seven take care of business, but the secondary is it. So those guys, sorry fellas, but the game's on your shoulders. It's just how it is.
Going to put a prediction on you. What happens? Soothsayer, go.
Oh, well, at the risk of getting a lot of texts from my friends that live in your market that I went to high school with in Traverse Rest, I think Alabama wins the game, and I think it's because of what I'm talking about. Tua, and this isn't just the greatest group of receivers in Alabama history, it's the greatest group of receivers in the country right now, which I thought I would never say about Alabama.
Over Clemson's wide receiver.
They're
very
good,
talented.
Man.
They're young, but they're talented.
They're young and they're talented, and also, by the way, Tua is pretty good. So I think that could be the difference in the ball game. But Clemson has proved me wrong all season long, and they have one more chance to do that on Monday night.
Yeah, I picked against Alabama last year. This year I picked with Alabama. I'm sure people are going to love that. We'll get to that a bit later. But so we're done talking with Ryan McGee. You don't have to listen to him anymore. We do have an inspirational story for you, though. Scott Eisberg caught up with one of Ryan's coworkers, you said one of your favorite people in the world, Holly Rowe, about her story, her interesting relationship with Christian Wilkins.
All right, with Holly Rowe from ESPN, do you ever get sick of this matchup?
I never get sick of this matchup. Like, I liked all the Rocky movies, so I'm in on the sequels and the trilogies. What do you call it when it's 4, though?
Well, Rocky 4 was Drago, so I'm not exactly sure what Clemson, Alabama 4 would be, but we can come up with something
I like
interesting.
Drago. Let's just make this Drago,
I
because
think
everyone will know,
4
right?
was the best one. I think 4 was no question about it the best. It ended the Cold War in the United States, obviously. For you to get to do this year in, year out, you become so close with these players. I saw Christian Wilkins with you the other day up in Clemson. How motivational is it, I guess, for you that they've taken to you and taken to your struggle and your fight and really are pulling for you?
Well, these kids are wonderful people, first of all. Christian, we really do try to not be biased, and I don't care who wins the game, but I do care who wins in life, and Christian Wilkins is going to be one of those people. I've been covering college football now for 26 years, and he is the favorite kid I have ever covered. He's not only good on the field, and he is good on the field. I think we overlook that. But he plays with joy. Like, I watch him out there having fun, and I have fun watching him have fun. So I love everything about him. But more importantly, I think it's important for us to tell their stories and share who they are with fans. And so I take that responsibility really highly that, I want to be the person that's telling you who these kids are.
How are you feeling? And is it a milestone every year? I get to call the national championship game again. I get to be there again. How cool is that?
It is. It's so cool. So I finished my chemo in August, and I just got my first 3-month out scan, and it was stable. So people who have cancer, that stable scans are a good thing. So I'm just plugging along. I feel really good. And you're right, I don't take a second for granted. I'm like, okay, I get to be here for Drago for the 4th. I've been here for all 4 of them, and I'm just really lucky that I keep getting to be here and experiencing these things.
This matchup of quarterbacks, is it as good as it gets? Is this the future of football, period, with Tua and Trevor?
Well, I don't know if it's the future because I think they're exceptional. I don't think we will ever see again, maybe I'm wrong, but a true freshman. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is 19 years old, and the reads he's making, his composure, his poise, his accuracy. Tua is a special young man. He is a beautiful soul, and he's really great. His accuracy, his threat vertically. So I don't know that we will see this high level of quarterback play maybe ever again. I hope we do, but I think we're watching something pretty special.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your time, Holly. Enjoy the game. That's Holly Rowe from ESPN. So Holly Rose certainly not alone in pulling for Christian Wilkins. Hard not to pull for the charismatic and enigmatic Clemson defensive lineman. A special decision for him to return to Clemson this year.
He's also a substitute kindergarten teacher, Scotty. Lots of little ones pulling for him.
A pretty amazing story he is. A decision which up until now has paid off. Wilkins really playing for two himself, and the guy who lined up next to him all year, his best friend Dexter Lawrence, who is still suspended. Wilkins with all the motivation he needs for tomorrow night's ball game.
Well, I mean, I feel like the guys on the 2015 and even like the 2014, like this whole group of seniors, I feel like we all had the mindset individually, and like it's become a collective thing now that we're going to leave Clemson better than we found it. And so I feel like each day when we come to practice, each day when we come around the facility, whenever we have anything that, every day when we're off the field, going to class, whatever, we try to, his beliefs and his visions for the program, we try to really walk that.
All right, much more still to come.
Yeah, you heard Ryan talk about it. Had to go see Danny Tanner's house. When we come back, we'll hear what people in San Francisco think. We're talking Uncle Jesse. We're talking Trevor Lawrence's hair. We're live in San Jose, California. I just said that on television.
Whatever happened to predictability? The milkman, the paper boy, evening TV. Did I get delivered here? Somebody tell me, please. This whole world's confusing me. Clouds as mean as you ever seen. Ain't a bird who knows you're true. Then a little voice inside you whispers, don't sell your dreams so soon. Everywhere you look, there's a heart, a hand to hold on to. Everywhere you look, there's a face of somebody who needs you. Everywhere you look, when you're lost out there and you're all alone, life is waiting to carry you home. Everywhere you look, everywhere you look.
Scotty, you had to. Digging into the ABC archives, full house college football style. And the thing that shocked me the most about that, the smiles from Nick Saban down at the Orange Bowl.
Yeah, there's no question about it. Full House San Francisco is certainly synonymous. I'll tell you what, most would think I went from a boy to a man when I had my bar mitzvah. No, I'm going to go different on that. When I saw Danny Tanner, when I saw Bob Saget at a comedy club dropping 9 F-bombs in 1 minute, I think I went, my childhood was lost on Danny Tanner.
That is an adult moment.
Yes.
From that, we switch to something much more wholesome. We're talking the hard-hitting questions in San Francisco, right at the site of Full House, the house.
So we're at the site of the Full House row of houses, and we have some questions related to Monday's national title game. First up, the big question: better hair, Uncle Jesse or Trevor Lawrence, Clemson's quarterback?
Uncle Jesse.
Oh, Uncle Jesse. Boy. What do you think?
Uncle Jesse.
Uncle Jesse?
Uncle Jesse.
Jesse. Uncle Jesse.
Jesse, no doubt.
I don't know who that is, but John Stamos, in my opinion.
Always Uncle Jesse. Unanimous so far. Who would you least want to disappoint if they were your dad? Danny Tanner or Nick Saban?
Nick Saban.
Nick Saban.
Saban, I guess.
Yeah, he looks pretty nasty.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to disappoint my nice dad. I wouldn't want to disappoint
I like
him.
that. I like that.
The other coach, him.
Yeah, Nick Saban's pretty angry guy. That's been split down the middle. All right. Is it more surprising that two people played the youngest on Full House, or that this guy is an impact wide receiver in 3 national championships in 4 years? So, like, more shocking.
That's shocking.
That is shocking.
That's pretty cool.
That's shocking. Hunter Renfrow. People are shocked.
Michelle.
Okay.
Yeah, sure, Michelle.
Michelle. Okay. See, because they go to Alabama, they can't say Hunter Renfrow. But all right, they're going to Monday's title game. They're going to watch some Full House on the way, probably. It's a good time in San Francisco.
Roll Tide.
Hunter Renfrow, and if you heard it, the Roll Tides are everywhere. The people who actually know about the game, you either hear Go Tigers or Roll Tide. The others, you just hear, oh, there's a game Monday. And Hunter Renfrow being in that game, a surprise to most.
Yeah, Hunter Renfrow has been an incredible story for the Clemson Tigers, really synonymous with success, from walk-on to now a national championship legend, a playoff legend, an Alabama hated man. The guy is just all over the
14
Tide.
wins against the Tide.
Incredible success against Nick Saban, and it's all about the work to get him here.
That you get what you earn. That's one thing. I think Coach Sweeney does a good job in this program. I may not have been recruited high, but I earned it on the field. And some of these new guys coming in, you don't win 14 games by just lucking up. You got to earn it every day in the summertime when it starts. And so, get what you earn.
So we are talking going to the bathroom after the break. How about that?
Tigers Tide take 4. You'd think they might run out of things to talk about. No, we have a very interesting analogy from the mouth of Clelin Ferrell. That's next. We're live in San Jose, California. We're back right after this.
It's all about finishing, man. Coach Sweeney told us a joke yesterday from Gene Stallings, his former coach, and it was the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. You know, he said, you know, you got to this moment last year, guys, and that's kind of like going to the bathroom, taking a dump. You know, it's like you got the job done, but you guys, you didn't wipe. So when you don't wipe, it's like you just didn't finish. You know, you got to finish, man. You got to finish the job. So finish the job, man. That's the realest thing, because, you know, it's not just about getting here, man. At the end of the day, you want to go out and win.
These are conversations I have with my 4-year-old all the time.
Clelin Ferrell is a very large man. To hear him put it into those words, it really puts this game in perspective, Scott.
Yeah, no question about it. There's really no easy way to transition from that into anything else. But it is a national championship, so we have to catch up with the pride of Fort Dorchester High School, John Simpson. All right, we say it every single year. John Simpson from Fort Dorchester knows nothing but championships. Here we are again. This is like old hat, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Is it different for you this year being in California? I mean, you were as far away from home as you could be. Oh, yeah. Have you kind of enjoyed California at all? Is it just a total business trip?
Man, it's a total business trip. Only thing I did so far was go to Walmart last night, and that was for some toothpaste. But, you know, other than that, like I'm just looking at it like another game. We're going to play to our best. I mean, we're going to play our best, so I'm trying to get prepared as possible.
Did you go bubble gum? Did you go peppermint? What kind of toothpaste did you go with?
I got a little peppermint with a little baking soda, you know.
Baking soda? You got pearly white. All right, this guy knows what he's getting at Walmart in California. John, for you, do you get nerves every time you play in a big game like this, or have playing in a big game like this so many times kind of alleviated the nerves?
I don't really get too nervous. Like my first snap, I'll be like, oh my goodness, I don't know what to expect. After that, it's just game on from there.
Talk to any of your old buddies from home just about being here? Do you text to carry on, or do you text any of the old guys from the team just about being on this stage?
I talked to a few guys like Datron, Carry On, a few other guys. I try to keep close contact as much as possible, and let them know that I'm here for them, and I know that they're there for me when it comes to being on a big stage like this.
Does it dawn on you like how many eyes are watching you in a national championship game? Does that even go through your mind or not?
Not really. I just try to go out there and play my best game and try to, because I mean, there's gonna be someone new watching me every time I play. So try to make that one new person know that I'm actually a good player.
How ridiculous was that performance against Notre Dame, and is the pressure on to one up that performance?
Absolutely. I think Notre Dame was a really good team, and if we can beat Alabama like how we beat Notre Dame, that'll be huge.
John Simpson from Fort Dorchester High School, good luck in another championship game. To San Jose, we are joined now. It's our yearly roundtable. Jeff Spiegel from our Sinclair affiliate in Birmingham, Alabama. Gene Sapikoff from the Post and Courier. They're affable, we're laughable, but we're still going to talk to them, Daren.
Scotty, they're called experts for a reason. We're just here.
That's exactly right. Let's start with you, Jeff. We ask this question every single year. What do you think about this matchup? Is Alabama any different than they've been in the past?
I think they're a lot different. I think the quarterback position makes them a lot different. Dynamic quarterback,
Jalen Hurts was limited, but Tua Tagovailoa is just special.
Hard to say Tagovailoa constantly on TV.
Well, we've had plenty of practice, so we're getting pretty good at it.
There you go.
Gene, on the other side, you've got Trevor Lawrence. We had so many questions going into the Cotton Bowl. How would the true freshman, the 19-year-old, perform? Pretty well. What'd you learn about Clemson in the Cotton Bowl that will pertain to Monday night's game?
That Trevor Lawrence is such a cool customer. Daren, he almost looks bored. He's been winning games with his head as much as his arm and his legs lately. And this is why Dabo Swinney and the staff made the change. And it should be a significant difference for the Tigers.
Now, you said last week they have to win Monday, or at least get to Monday for this season to be a success. Now that they're in Santa Clara, how does the mindset shift?
I still think that a loss to Alabama is not shameful. They're just such a dynasty and such a powerhouse with Nick Saban that it wouldn't be. You don't want to get blown out, but it wouldn't be a tremendously disappointing season if they lost this game. However, you don't get many at-bats in situations like this, and they ought to take advantage.
When you have two perfect teams, there's not many weaknesses, period. Clemson's weakness, I guess, could be the secondary. If you were to pinpoint one weakness for Alabama that Clemson could take advantage of, is there one?
Well, it's been the same thing since Nick got here in 2007. It's the kicking game. Place kicking. Joseph Bulovas is 13 of 17, but in pressure situations, Alabama's kickers have always found a way to, well, just frankly, choke.
And Jeff, this Alabama team hasn't played a ton of close games. They did the last two out, I guess, but that was more of a byproduct of how they played than their opponent.
They really haven't had to have a big field goal and a big kick to win the game because they've just been blowing people out. So in a tight game like this, we'll see how the nerves hold up with these kickers.
My question about that, is there a little extra fire this week after what happened against Oklahoma, letting them back into the game?
I think there is. I think there's a determination, especially on the defensive side, to show that, hey, we're a lot better than that. They're not going to say, hey, Kyler Murray's a great quarterback, cut us some slack. No, I mean, they want to go out and prove against Clemson they're a world-class defense, and they can shut those guys down.
I think it's pretty fair to say these are the two best teams in the country. Gene, how do you get from number 2 to number 1? What is the recipe for success for Clemson on Monday night?
One thing, they have to keep Trevor Lawrence off his back. He got sacked, I think, 3 times against Notre Dame. That was rare for a team that had come in giving up only 14 sacks for the whole season. Then the other thing, the wide receivers must win the 50-50 balls. They did not win those in the Sugar Bowl. It was very noticeable. Jeff Scott said that there were 4 key plays that came down to catches Clemson should have had. They've made those catches against Notre Dame. They've made them this season. T. Higgins, Justin Ross, Hunter Renfrow, and those guys have to come up with the tough catches against a secondary that's famous for battling for balls.
And the offense is probably the biggest story for Clemson going into this because that's the only game against Alabama last year in the Sugar Bowl. That's the only game in the Jeff Scott, Tony Elliott era that they didn't score a touchdown.
Obviously, there is one big difference. Kelly Bryant compared to Trevor Lawrence. When you look at Trevor Lawrence from the outside looking in, how unbelievable is he for a freshman in what he's doing?
Well, I think he and Tua both show incredible poise under pressure. So calm when there's chaos. And when I look at Trevor Lawrence, I think of Peyton Manning. I see Peyton Manning.
That's why he wears 16.
Yeah, I mean, I see a guy that's just so poised under pressure and makes good decisions, and he's so mature beyond his years.
Dabo has had very little turnover on staff. Saban has a lot of turnover on staff. How does he keep it going with different parts that are teaching the different groups?
He's always 2 steps ahead of the game when it comes to everything, when it comes to game preparation, when it comes to staff, and that's why he's the best in the business.
He's old school, though. I read something this week. Is it true he still does not text message?
No, doesn't know what Twitter is. Yeah, he likes the personal phone calls.
Right, he doesn't know what Twitter is. Come on.
No, he just doesn't use Twitter.
Now that's,
let me correct that. But no, he says every time he tries to text somebody, guys don't get his texts. So the personal phone call, always the best with him.
I've worked with Daren for 5 years now. I don't know if I've ever personally phone called him. I think it's been texts ever since, and that's why we're not.
That's why we're not playing for national championships. But it looks like from the rest of college football, there's a big gap from 1 and 2 to the rest of everybody else. What does Clemson have to do to get to that level? Because it still seems like Alabama is at a different level.
Clemson's there. I think Dabo's there. Now they got to win that big game. They did win that big game.
They did it 2 years ago.
A couple years ago. You've got to focus on every play and make it like it's going to be the play in the game that will determine the outcome. Coach Stallings said that all the time.
All right, nobody's getting off the hook without a pick. Gene, we'll start with you. We'll come right down the line.
Well, I'll say that it will be closer than me in a matchup against three guys with a clothing allowance. So I'm gonna go Clemson 34-31.
Wow, Clemson 34-31. I think it just depends on how Clemson plays. I think they have a shot in this game. I think Alabama has a shot. But Nick Saban's Nick Saban, and Lightning did strike 2 years ago, but I'm going to go Alabama close.
I'm going to go Clemson 28-14. I'm going to go way out on a limb here.
Okay.
I'm going to go 28-14. I'm going Clemson to win it. That is my pick.
I kind of like Alabama to win this game, not being a homer or anything like that. What I've heard, 40 of the 44 starters out there could be playing in the NFL one day. That is phenomenal. So I like Alabama to win somewhere in the neighborhood of 31-28, similar to what Gene said.
That's Jeff Spiegel from WBMA in Birmingham, Gene Sapikoff from the Charleston Post and Courier. That's Daren Stoltzfus. We already knew him. We've already done this a couple times, but our first time dodging rain. It should be interesting tomorrow.
I think tomorrow night could be very interesting, but I expect a game much like in Tampa 2 years ago, which was also outdoors, very close, could go either way. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
For Daren Stoltzfus, for Bill Mannix, our photographer, for Dara Schneider-Bray back in the studio, and Spencer Twist, have a great night, everybody, from San Jose, California.